Oh, DC. Even though Marvel was and is kicking your ass at the movie theaters, you could at least claim victory over the airwaves, what with Arrow and Flash being pretty solid shows. Like I said, what with Arrow and Flash being solid shows. But now, here comes Supergirl, which apparently is targeted to white 10-year-old girls who thought Katniss was too much of a badass and they needed more girliness in a female hero. Who needs to remember Buffy or Xena, both popular characters amongst women, young and old as far as I recall? Here, we have a young girl who's cut from the same cloth as Zooey Deschanel's New Girl, which I admit is a show that I like, but you combine that with the fact that this has been dropped in the setting of The Devil Wears Prada.
Is your latte hot?
Oh, that'll be new and different.
A joke which I've heard numerous times about this show. Now, before I go any further, let me just say the performances weren't bad. Given the photo that was released earlier this year of Melissa Benoist, I wasn't as displeased with her performance as I thought I was going to be. She's a decent actress. And I guess for the Supergirl that this show wanted to portray, she knocks it out of the park. Chyler Leigh does a good job as Kara's older sister Alex. Mehcad Brooks has vastly improved since his True Blood days. But there are a few sour notes as well. David Harewood as the leader of a secret organization is beyond corny, as is Jeremy Jordan, Kara's co-worker, who comes off as only slightly less annoying than Cisco from The Flash, and is also inexplicably very smart. And the villain in the pilot is, how can I put this? Terrible. Except for a mildly entertaining fight scene which was cribbed from Man of Steel, the actor better find a decent day job. He's a C-grade Terrax the Tamer with a weakness that makes absolutely no sense. But like I alluded to earlier, the real problem I had with this show is all the girlish cliches of a typical new girl in the big city program. Girl lives in an apartment she couldn't possibly afford in real life? Check. Girl trying on multiple outfits in a montage? Check. The will they, won't they male companion? Check.
Capes are lame. You can tell your cousin I said so. Actually, never do that.
Well, after seeing that, there's a good chance they won't. Let's roll that clip again.
It's raining men.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, of course not.
Oh my God, you're a lesbian.
Dude, pot and kettle. Pot and kettle. But moving on. Girl working for a bitchy boss? Check. And then here's the traditionally white character, played by a black actor, to make the cast more diverse and more progressive.
Oh my God, you're Jimmy Olsen, the photographer from the Daily Planet.
James Olsen.
Bond. James Bond.
But hey, I gotta give it to the producers. They doubled down on this particular cliche by setting up a possible Twilight triangle between the friend, who's obviously ambiguously gay, and the traditionally nerdy, white, now cool, black character. I was going to mention the typical sassy female companion as another check, namely Kara's Earth sister Alex. But in a somewhat interesting twist, she turns out to be more than she seems. Although her reveal raised more questions in my head, like, how does she know all the stuff she tells Kara? I won't go any further on that. I don't want to give anything away. Another big problem for me is that we see Kara at around 12 years old being sent off to Earth. Now again, without giving anything away, I believe she's 24 when she reaches Earth. I was a little confused about that. The problem for me is that she acclimates way too quickly to life on Earth, living in the United States. Now, it's believable that Clark Kent would act like an American and be immersed in our culture because he came here as a baby. He was raised by the Kents and had no knowledge of his Kryptonian heritage until much later. He didn't even know his Kryptonian name until he was an adult. Yet Kara, who had 12 years on Krypton and came to Earth at around 24 years of age, seems to have taken no time at all to adapt to life on Earth. I know if I were all of a sudden dropped in the middle of Argentina, it would take me a few years, at least a few years, to learn the tango.
We have 5, 6 ready, here we go.
Now the special effects are impressive, especially for a network show. The scene where Kara reveals herself to the world is of cinematic quality. It's really spectacular. Benoist looks very comfortable with a flying harness, as her flying scenes are totally convincing. But she needs a little more training to pull off convincing fight scenes, which she does not here. She doesn't hold a candle to any of the actresses on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or even Haley Atwell of Agent Carter. It's clear, at least it was clear to me, that those actresses did some training for those roles, whereas I don't know if Benoist did any training at all. She looks a little stiff in the fighting scenes. Some other minor nitpicks I have are that this show continues the baffling tradition of heroes who reveal their secret identity for no apparent reason, and also the fact that the writers need to lay off the overt feminism. I mean, you can't put your female protagonist in a scene like this.
I'm not flying around saving people in this thing. I wouldn't even wear it to the beach.
And then have a male character being accused of sexism simply because he points out that Supergirl isn't strong enough when it's very clear she's getting her ass kicked. It's also very clear that DC apparently does not believe in the successful model because, unlike Marvel, they apparently decided not to tie this into the DC cinematic universe. Ultimately, the pilot deserves a look for some good performances and some spectacular special effects. It's just a shame the producers went the route they did with Kara's character, which prevents this show from being a must-watch for me. I give it 2.5 reels. The half reel is for the fact that I think the show has potential if the producers, and I'll use a term they should understand, give Kara a complete makeover, and that's the martini.